We are joined now by Texas State Representative Travis Clardy, a Republican who serves on the Texas House Elections Committee. Thank you so much for being here, Representative.
Thank you, Lindsey. Great to be here.
So first, give us your reaction to your Democratic colleagues deciding to leave the state to try to block this special legislative session from going forward.
I got to tell you, more than anything, I'm surprised. I didn't expect them to do that. I don't think there was a good reason to do it. I'm a little disappointed and a little frustrated. I came back to check on things here at home in Nacogdoches and check on my mom, and I'll be leaving about 6 in the morning to get back to Austin for our next schedule today, tomorrow at 10, back in the Texas House. And looks like I'll be going to a relatively empty room.
And is there anything at this point that Governor Abbott or Republicans who control the legislature can do to get Democrats back in the state, or could they keep these voting measures from going forward?
No, and that's the frustration. I'm really disappointed in my colleagues in the Democratic caucus. It really chosen to be driven by the national narrative, which I think is mythologized and really misinterpreted what we've done in Texas. We were there 24 hours this weekend hearing the bill that Andy Murr, one of my colleagues, brought forward. I'd worked hard on this bill during the regular session. It died at the end when the Democrats left the first time. And again, I think that what they thought the bill said was not what the bill said. There were a couple of issues in there that were addressed. I think there were mistakes in that original bill, but we acknowledged that and we said we're going to fix it. And I'm very proud of the work we did to fix it. So, when you look at the bill as drafted, as filed, as laid out this Saturday and passed out of the committee, it is a very good, strong election ethics integrity bill. I'm proud of the work we've done, and I think if they'd stayed there and taken the time to read the bill, they would have known that, and we could have passed this bill and moved on to other important issues. Part of my frustration is, we're going to not be able to act on things like a 13th check to our retired teachers, or some things we really need to work on, some budget issues, taking a look at the COVID money coming down from the federal government. There's a lot of important work to be done, and this is one part of it. But again, I think that they have chosen to be driven by a national narrative, which isn't really factually based, particularly when you look at the Texas legislation. But here we are. They've made their decision, apparently.
And so Democrats have called the proposed voting changes by Republicans, quote, dangerous legislation that would trample on Texans' freedom to vote. So I want to drill down on that. For starters, why do Republicans believe that some of these changes are necessary?
It's a great question, Lindsey. The problem is not that we did not have a good election last November 2020. I've said that throughout my service on the Elections Committee this session. We had a strong election. I think the proof is in the pudding. The results were very strong and strong for Republicans. But we do know we have seen real evidence of abuse. We do know we have had issues of fraud and voter illegality in our elections. And I think all states should be like this. But in Texas, we have to have zero tolerance when it comes to voter fraud and on voter integrity issues. And so the measures we've put into place in this law are well-reasoned. They make sense. They are designed to make it easier for Texans to vote. If you're registered, if you're eligible, we want you to vote. I'm very proud of the fact that we increased from 8 million to 12 million in the presidential election cycle, the number of people who voted in Texas. I can't explain to you why 18 million people registered and a third of them choose not to vote. And that's something we all should be working on. But the measures we put into place to stop illegal voter harvesting, where people are paid to go chase in mail-in ballots, and some of the things we've heard that have happened and the abuses that occur there, are good measures for Texas. We want to protect everyone's right to vote, but importantly, protect everyone's privacy and individual ownership of that. And so, there is nothing in that bill that smacks of voter suppression that looks like it's trying to discourage people despite all the rhetoric that's been thrown about. It's a good bill. It's a strong bill. And I'm proud that we voted it out this weekend. I look forward one of these days having everybody on the job, staying put in Texas where the work is, and voting that bill out.
But let me just follow up, because you said that there was evidence of abuse, issues of fraud, and voter irregularities beyond just the anecdotal small issues that occur from standard elections across the country. What are you talking about specifically?
Sure. I can tell you empirically, not anecdotally, that when you look at the cases that are being investigated by the Office of Attorney General of voter fraud or voter illegality, those numbers have over the last 6-8 years have spiked. It's not a steady increase. It's a shocking and disturbing trend. And where we have seen some real problems throughout the state of Texas has been in those smaller elections. Mine too, but we're trying to stop. Again, we want to make it easier, make it harder to cheat. And that's a big part of what we are doing.
But let's talk the specifics of something like 24-hour voting being banned, considering it gave greater access to voting in 2020 to Texans who couldn't get off from work before the polls traditionally close.
Yeah, and I think that's a bit of a little bit of a red herring for this reason. There's been no evidence of anybody. Nobody came for our committee in regular nor in special said I was unable to vote in Texas because I just couldn't find the time. We have 2 weeks of early voting. Governor Abbott extended that by executive order for 3 weeks during the COVID crisis. We have, I think, a very liberal ability to use the mail-in ballots. If you're over 65, you're eligible for that. We also have a full day of voting on election day, but nobody said they couldn't vote in Texas. Again, that's why we had record turnout.
And lastly, you've said just a little while ago that there's been an uptick in cases of potential voter fraud in Texas. But as you know, only a handful of these cases have been prosecuted in recent years. Over the weekend, of course, we saw reports of a Texas man named Hervis Rogers being arrested for voting while he was on parole. He says he didn't know that barred him from voting, and he'd waited 6 hours in line to vote in the primary last year. Do you believe that he should be prosecuted and threatened with potentially 20 years in jail for this?
Yeah, I don't know the specifics of that case. Certainly what I've heard through the media, it doesn't sound appropriate to me. I do try to stay in my line as a legislator. I'm also a lawyer by profession, and I trust our judiciary and judges to make good decisions. But you know, I don't think we need to be looking at ways to castigate people for having made a mistake. We don't want anybody to be punished for making a mistake. We're talking about those willful acts where you have the criminal intent, where you intend to do things that you know are breaking the law. That's what we want to focus on. Republican
State Representative Travis Clardy, we thank you so much.
Thank you, Linsey. Y'all have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.